All right, this is the moment we've all been waiting for. I have got here on the phone with me, of course, it's Toby. Toby,
How
man.
you doing?
How's it going, man?
Very, very good, thank you.
Busy.
Sorry about that. Sorry about earlier on. We were mid Little Angel or something.
Yeah, that's okay, man. That's cool.
Are.
Right, yes, talking to Little Angels, back.
Absolutely.
Yes, kicking off tomorrow in Cardiff.
That's right. Yeah, back in the valleys.
Back in the valleys. But I got to be honest, Little Angels were always very big in Wales. Is that is that why you thought right, we'll start the gig there?
Well, we always had a fantastic relationship with Wales, specifically in South Wales. You know, when we first started out, we had an agent from Leeds, and when we were first trying to get gigs around the country, we used to be able to sort of get shows pretty regularly in and around our area and sort of Newcastle. But the other area that seemed to really be available, if you like, was the valleys and coming down to South Wales. So we often used to come down and do the sort of what they used to call the Holy Triptych, which was Bogies in Cardiff, Lanharan Rugby Club, and Tonopandi Naval Club. And we used to play those shows quite a lot, along with My Steg 47s. So we kind of got like a real feel for the place and built up a real nice following, and have always had a great time when we've come down. So we thought this time, because we weren't able to do it on the December dates, that we thought we'd come and play Cardiff as a kind of final thank you very much, if you know what I mean. So there we go.
I was going to say, we seem to take to the Yorkshire people really well down here in Wales.
Say that again, sorry.
I
had a train going past there.
That's what I love about live interviews. It seems like Wales seems to take to the Yorkshire lads really well down here.
Well, that's it. I mean, exactly. I think, do you know what, in all seriousness, I think because the north of England is kind of a real working class area. We came from a sort of a little seaside town, Scarborough, as most people probably know. It was very sort of working class, and I think, there's a value in rock and roll for that, you know what I mean? More than anything else, it's a really important thing for people that are especially when we were growing up at that particular period in social history. It wasn't fantastic, and I think also there's lots of echoes of it now. I think rock and roll is in guitar music is always a great escapist and also a sort of social comment of the times. And I think it definitely sort of reverberated for certainly for us. And I think at that period it was a great period for rock and roll in Britain. There was lots of bands getting signed, and we were one of those bands, and it was a bit of a little movement. It was great.
I got to be honest, it's fantastic though, because I mean your last show before this lot coming up was called Shepherd's Bush Empire.
Yeah.
Way back. Did you feel like that sort of heartbreak when you guys said, right, let's call it a day now, and then,
Well, it took us a long time to find the place in ourselves where we could even get back on the stage with each other, because it was 18 years since the band obviously had been together fully since the Royal Albert Hall, and it took us a long time to kind of come to terms with the fact that the band had split up and we all changed our lives. We all had children. We all sort of moved on into different areas of work, and so it took long enough to kind of get us back on a stage anyway. And of course, Download was a focus, and Andy Coppin, who's a very close friend of all of ours, sort of said, look, come and do it, and it was a great incentive for us to do that. And then of course the tour followed that, and we took it day by day. We didn't have any plans. We never thought about recording any new music. We didn't think that was the right thing to do. And so we got to the Shepherd's Bush, and it was like, well, okay, well, let's just see what happens next. Let's see where we go from here. And I think, we didn't want to just sort of bow out, at that particular moment. So then when John Giddins offered us a slot at the Isle of Wight, we thought, well, actually, you know what? Maybe that's a great way of going out. You know what I mean? The historic event like that. And so, yeah, here we are. Sort of 18 months since the first part of the show. Well, a year since the first Little Angels reunion shows, and here we are again saying goodbye. But we sort of see it more as a sort of closing of a chapter. You know what I mean? We're all mates again. We're all back in touch with each other, and we'll see what the future brings. You know.
You never know. Might just be one of those ones, not tour anymore, but let's just slip a little single out there somewhere for somebody.
Who knows? Who knows? I mean, I think at the end of the day, we're just really chuffed that we went back out and we played a proper tour, and and it was bigger and more exciting and more successful than we could ever have hoped for after 18 years. Because we never forget the fact that people have to make the real effort to go out and do stuff these days. It's so for people to turn out after all that time to come and see a band, our band, after nearly 20 years being away, is pretty humbling, to be honest, and pretty amazing. So we're grateful for it all.
Well, you just finished as well, part of US as well. Haven't you been over there touring?
No, I was over there. We're doing some stuff with the Dio's Disciples, but no, the Little Angels haven't been. No, it's only been in the UK.
Now, saying that, see, you're not only just with the Little Angels, but you do a lot more. And if I just say a certain little track to you, "Life is Beautiful."
Oh right, yeah, you like that?
It's a fantastic little track, and of course, it's written by yourself and Mr. James Toseland, World Superbike Champion.
That's right. Yeah, great. I mean, that's been a really exciting project. I mean, I'm now actually fully a part of what I do now is I manage James. James is I co-wrote the track and produced the album, and me and James have kind of got on really, really well. We see a future with each other moving forward as a collaborative team sort of thing. So I've now sort of become his manager too, which is a new step for me. So. But dead excited and really pleased with the album for James, and I think when people get to hear the album, which is probably about 6 to 8 months away from being released, we're just securing his deal at the moment. I think people will be really, I think we'll be very surprised by what a great rock album it is, and he's a fantastic frontman and a great, really dynamic guy, and it's exciting to be on that side of the glass, you know what I mean, rather than being
in front of people.
For once,
I was going to say, it must be a total difference, isn't it, to be actually at the back of something when you've got a rock band like that, and then you've got somebody like James is fronting it. You must be thinking to yourself, I want to get on that stage with him.
Well, I do, and I'm not giving up on singing. It's just a case of I have to find the right way of doing it, and I don't want to. I'm in my mid-40s now, not that that's particularly old by today's standards of people playing, but, my priorities have changed. I've got a different look at it now. I really enjoy working with young bands and producing. I love writing with people, but my favourite thing on the planet is to sing, live in front of an audience. But I've got to make sure that's I do that in the correct manner. You know what I mean? I want it to be a dynamic, proper project. There's only so many solo acoustic shows you can do before you sort of start hankering after having a live band behind you, and I don't really want to be dragging out the back of a transit van ever again, if you know what I mean. So it's really waiting for the right project to arrive, and I'm talking to people at the moment about the possibility of doing some stuff, some collaborations. So watch this space, I
was going to say, you just said there, out of the back of a transit van. Has those days gone from that now? Have you got yourself a nice little tour bus to go on this tour, or is it still a transit van?
Well, I mean, the transit van days have pretty much long gone, several years ago. But I mean, for James, he's back in. He is in a transit van. He's got a splitter van that we hire, and he puts his band in it, and I go on the road with him. Just as basic because I'm taking care of business there, and I'm making sure that we're doing what we're doing, and so bizarrely, I might not be in the transit van as a singer, but I'm in the transit van as his manager. So it's back to the bloody vans. Maybe I'll never get away from him. I don't know, but
well, I'm going to say he's a Yorkshire man himself, isn't he, James? Again, he's from up that way.
Yeah.
He's all this superbike racing he's done. He's got himself a nice big motorhome. Why ain't he using that?
Well, he used to have. He used to have his motorhome, but that's that he doesn't use that anymore. But it's James at the beginning of his career as a musician. That's what's so fantastic about the way he looks at this is that yes, he's been an internationally successful sportsman, riding a motorcycle at horrendous speeds as far as I'm concerned, but that part of his life is over, and he's very, very bravely and very dynamically sort of taken on this mantle of wanting to put a band together, wanting to create his first debut record and do it seriously. This is not a joke for him. This is something that he wants to do for the rest of his life, his working career. And so that's the reason why I got involved with him, because he was so determined. And there's one thing about James, is that his determination to succeed is absolute, and that's a big part of the reason why I got involved with the guy. Apart from the very obvious fact that he's a fantastic musician, most people will probably know he was a fantastic piano player and has been since a little boy. And so he's always been a musician.
Well, you're saying that with James, is like I said, a lot of the the Superbikes and all that. He always used to put on a show for people with the band.
Yeah.
He always did something with somebody there. And of course, like I said, he's supporting you on basically the 3 dates, isn't it? It's Cardiff tomorrow at the Solus in Cardiff, Cambridge then, and then, of course, over to the Isle of Wight.
Yeah, well, he's not playing. He's not on the Isle of Wight, but I've got him at Download actually on Friday. He's playing Download on the acoustic stage, so that's really cool. So we've got a nice, exciting weekend ahead of us, So yes, the Solus show, and I take him up to Download. We're playing that there, and then we're coming back down to the Cambridge show. But he's coming over to the Isle of Wight with me to basically, to experience the event. So. Yeah, no, it's really cool. It's really cool to be working with him, and it's great to be doing these final shows of the Angels, and I can't wait to see everyone again. And it's just, it's in this ever-changing world, this music business that I've been in for 25, nearly 30 years now. I take on the challenge. I don't feel like it's the end of anything. I think it's the end of one thing and the start of something new, and that's what life is about, isn't it? That's the way I think about it.
Well, like you're saying, wait for the train to go by. Like saying, yeah, it is a challenge. I mean, music business is a big challenge, as it is for any band starting out.
Exactly.
And like I said, his Little Angel's been going for so long now. There's so much stuff out there by yourselves. And I'm finally finishing off playing the 3 dates, of course, finishing up in the Isle of Wight. Like you're saying, what a historic place to play.
Yeah, exactly. Gig. I mean, you doesn't get much bigger than that, really, in terms of the consciousness of what rock and roll is about. I mean, let's be honest. Rock and roll isn't even 100 years old. It started roughly in the 1950s, and here we are. We're only 60 odd years later, and it's there are certain punctuation marks in the rock and roll business, and certainly the Isle of Wight is one of those big punctuation marks. So I think it's just amazing to be asked to do that, and for us a fantastic, really fitting way of finishing this chapter.
Will you be videoing the Isle of Wight set?
I think there are cameras on stage, and the Sky Arts people film it as a matter of course, and so we're hoping to get hold of the footage and be able to use that going forward into some sort of release or through the website. I mean, that's the one thing. We're not closing the website. We're not stopping sort of Little Angels business and people's interest in what the band have done and what they're where we got to and the discussions and so we hope that the legacy will remain intact and we can continue to interact with the fans and we can keep it alive.
Well, I know, like I said, there's Little Angels is the website. You were, like you're saying, you got your littleangelsofficial.com.
That's it.
Facebook page as well, Twitter. Oh God, what else is there?
Well, I mean, that's about it, isn't it? I mean, this is the world of social media, my friend, and that stuff just about covers it all, I think.
Covers it all isn't the word, is it? I mean, it's amazing now who you can get the message out to. You just put a message up on, like, used to be MySpace, and it used to get out to people. Now, like I said, you got your own Facebook pages. You got your like the official littleangelsofficial.com where everything goes out and says what's going on, tour dates. Then you got, like I said, his Twitter. People just say, "Oh, Little Angels are playing," and it goes everywhere.
Yeah, I know. It's mad. I mean, when we first started out, it was the grapevine. There wasn't the internet didn't exist. It was a case of go and do a show, put some flyers out, word of mouth, anything you could get in the local press. And the internet's become, and it obviously, as we all know, an incredible source of access for people to music and to be able to sort of see what's going on. I mean, there are negatives to it, but by and large, it's very, very positive. Anyone that's kind of got a hankering to sort of be in a band or to make music or to be creative, It's an incredible place, incredible tool, But you still got to make great music, and there's not masses of that about. You know what I mean? That's the thing. I think I'll say to people, no matter how great your website is, but if your music isn't any good, it doesn't matter. You still have to create good enough music.
And that's the thing. But like I said, is you're not only a writer, singer, you produce anything you haven't done yet.
Well, I've tried. I mean, what I sort of set out to do a few years ago, because I sort of took a bit of a hiatus from the music business for a few years when I was me and my wife were having children, and I thought, I didn't want to be away and touring when the kids were little. So I sort of when I came back to it, I thought, you know what, I don't just want to do one thing. I want to try a load of stuff out. I want to sort of stretch my capabilities and try different things, because at the end of the day, the music business is changing. It changes on a day-by-day basis, but the one thing that doesn't change is that people want music, and it has to be of high, good quality as far as I'm concerned. So, having had the experience of working with some amazing producers and some amazing writers over my life, I wanted to put that into practice and help other young bands, and that's what I've done. I've worked with a lot of bands at a very low level, and I've also, recently produced the Answers new record, and I did a Saxon album a couple of years ago, which was an amazing experience. The Virgin Marys have been a big part of my life over the last 2-3 years, and it's been an absolute joy working with talented young people that I feel very connected to creatively, and I think that's the point. I just want to create stuff. I don't want to sit on my laurels. I want to challenge myself, and I will continue to do so. Whatever it might be.
I was going to say, now when you started out way back in the 80s with the guys, Little Angels and that, did you think that you'd end up being as big as what you are now?
I didn't even think. You know what? I didn't even think about it, Angel. It wasn't one of those things that ever became part of my consciousness. I just wanted to make music and to play in a band with my mates, and we just followed that track. Whatever happened, we tried to make the best of it, and we tried to be as good as we could be and work as hard as we could work, and stage by stage. I mean, my dream was to play the Marquee Club in Wardour Street when I was a kid. And we did that, and we headlined that, and then I thought, well, what do I want to do now? Well, I'd love to play Hammersmith, and then we ended up selling out Hammersmith a couple of times, and then it's like, well, I'd love to play Wembley, and, then we played that with Bryan Adams, and, we just took it, every time we did something, we achieved something, we thought, God, that's amazing, we're so lucky to do that, what can we do now? It was like, that's what we did. There was never any big plan. There was never a big plan, because you can't plan. You can't. Anyone who says you can are talking rubbish, because the music business doesn't work like that. You're talking about fans, and the only people that really matter in the music business are the people that buy the records and take part as a fan, because ultimately without them, fans don't mean anything. It's as simple as that.
Well, everything, like I said, everything has changed now, because it used to be you go out, you buy the final, you come home with the final or a CD. Now everything is like iTunes, Amazon, everything is downloadable now, which is a bit unfair really for... It's all right if you just want the one track of an album, but it's not really fair on a band itself nowadays, with people just going, I just want that one track, 99p.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know, I agree, but I think the thing is, music, the way that music is delivered to people, for me, is kind of immaterial. I think as long as the music's good enough, and I do think there are people out there, there are fans especially of guitar music, guitar rock, love albums. They want to take part in that band's life. They don't want to have one track. They want to know what the entire record's doing. And I see this on a day-by-day basis. It may have shrunk the market slightly, if you like, because I hate the word market anyway. When I was a fan, I used to wait for the new Uriah Heep record to come out, or the new Deep Purple, or the new Dio album, or whatever it would have been. I used to queue up like the rest of us in the rain, my local music shop to get it, And I still think that mentality still exists. I think people still love everything about a band. It's still there. It's just that it's changed about the way that people get hold of it.
Yeah,
that's all.
Yes, like I said, it's tomorrow night is Cardiff Soulless.
That's it.
Then you got Cambridge, and of course James is down at Download on the Friday.
Yeah.
And then finishing off on the 16th at that Ionic, that fantastic place I've never been yet to, is the Isle of Wight Festival.
That's it.
That, like I said, that's got to be something amazing, is to be able to get back out there, and this is the final sort of farewell tour.
That's it.
Well, we'll say final farewell tour at the moment, because you never know what will happen in the future.
You don't, but I think, we all feel The one thing that we never wanted to do with the Little Angels is be one of those bands that kept coming back, and oh, it's our final farewell. Oh, hang on a minute, no, it isn't. We'll have another go. No, that has never been part of our approach. You know, we know that our music, and we know how potent it was to our fans, and we know that it existed at a time when that music scene was really exciting and everyone was in the moment and it was a great thing. That moment's gone. You know, that moment doesn't exist anymore. You know, we couldn't. I wouldn't want to try and make an album with the Little Angels unless it could be as good as the last ones we made, and I'm not certain, given the times, the way that the times have changed, the way that music has changed in terms of how people listen to it, that we could do that. And I wouldn't want to sully the reputation of the band. I'm really happy with the way that we left the band on a high, you know, like we are going to this time, but we're all friends now, we're all back in touch with each other. That to me is the most important thing. We started out as a bunch of kids at school, and we've ended up friends again, all from the same place, you know, all back in touch, all still making music one way or another, and that's good enough for me, you know.
I was going to say, yeah, leaving it now as a high for everyone out there waiting. I mean, I'll be honest. How was the fans? I mean, I gotta be honest, was you shocked and stunned when you got back on stage after such a break to see the fans out there and think, wow?
Yeah, I mean, it's you don't lose it. You know, I mean, I've you know, in the intervening years, I've been in a number of bands. I was in Gun, you know, I've obviously done the Dio thing. I worked with Fast Eddie Clarke in Fastway. You know, I've done a lot of touring. I've done my own solo stuff, you know. But to get back on stage with the guys that I started out doing this with, it was like opening a door onto a dusty old room. You know, all you have to do is sort of like run the Hoover around it a bit, and you know, all of a sudden the shine comes back. And actually, within a couple of gigs, you know, we were back up to sounding as good as we ever remember it. Really, I mean, I know that you know, a lot of people were disappointed with the fact that you know, Mark Richardson couldn't make the December tour, but that was just through commitment of his, obviously. So, but even with Dominic, you know, from Reef, who was a great guy, great friend of ours. It was all about the songs, you know. It's all about the guys playing and the songs. That was what's so exciting about it. But now this time, obviously, we've got Mark Rich back for these last final shows, and yeah, it's just when you have a legacy like we have, it might not be the biggest musical legacy on the planet, but it's certainly potent to the fans that love it, and those are the people that we're playing this and doing this for, you know.
Well, I gotta be honest, I'm looking forward to tomorrow to catch hold of you lot down in Cardiff.
Great.
I know myself I've just arranged now. I have an interview with James tomorrow down at the venue, so hopefully I should catch you down there, man. I should catch you down there.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for the interview, man. I've you know, it's great that people are so interested still, and you know, and hopefully long shall it remain, you know. So I'll see you down the gig. It shall.
Do you want to finish off? I'm going to finish up with your Kicking Up Dust. Do you want to introduce that one?
Yeah, well, this track was, I think, actually probably a real pivotal track for us, because we'd spent quite a bit of time recording when we first got signed to Polydor, and there was a lot of stuff that was kind of coming and going, and I can remember that when I wrote that track that I was actually in the back of a taxi on the way to an A&R meeting, and I was with our press agent, Martin, and I'd written the song that morning in the hotel room, pretty much in my head, and I was writing the words in the back of the cab, and I remember thinking to myself, actually, I think I'm beginning to tap a bit of a vein here, because we were sort of, you know, we were associated with a lot of other bands like Thunder and The Almighty and guys like this, but I knew that we had to sort of single out our voice, and a lot of it for me was, you know, the fact that we had keyboards, and Jim was such an amazing keyboard player. So I think that keyboard riff, the sort of, and the words, you know, they, in many ways, Kicking Up just sums up what the Little Angels always meant to people, this aspirational sort of journey of young people trying to break out of their humdrum existence and try and go and take on the world and find a way to sort of, you know, build a life. And so I think it certainly reflected what we felt like as young men, you know. So I think it's a really important track. So this is Kicking Up Dust.